G'day everyone, this is another video looking at issues around the Fremantle Traffic Bridge project, particularly for cyclists and vulnerable road users. Today we're having a look at the intersection hazards at the corner of Pensioner Guard Road and TYDEMAN Road. There'll be a further video looking at similar hazards at the corner of Canning Highway and East Street. Just a quick recap, the first video in this series looked at a bunch of missing detour signage. It's been missing for months. It still hasn't reappeared, even a week after that was sent through to main roads. Part two looked at some specific hazards along Canning Highway, which should be pretty quick and easy to fix, but still haven't been looked at. Now, the reason I'm doing this series of videos is these detours around the work sites are required by vulnerable people aged 8 to 80. These detours are not needed by strong and fearless cyclists. We need to think about this in, the target market is, kids and pensioners and people that aren't confident riding on the road. And Austroads actually makes it very clear who the vulnerable road users are: pedestrians, cyclists, people with disabilities, children, parents with prams, users of mobility aids, and the elderly. So, don't think that these detours are required by mammals, the strong and fearless cyclists, packs of people riding around at high speed. It's parents riding with kids and things like that. Now, Main Roads has this mission statement or vision statement, whatever it is, on their website. I think we need to rewrite this for this project to say that we will provide a safe, reliable detour path for vulnerable road users aged 8 to 80, so you can get to where you need to go. And why is that? Well, the communications team are putting out pamphlets, etc., saying that people should cycle or walk to their destinations instead of drive, which is a really good idea because, at the end of this year, when the Fremantle Traffic Bridge closes for a year or so, it's going to be traffic hell. So anything that can be done to remove vehicles from the road is a good thing. Doing substitution by getting people to walk or cycle locally is an excellent idea. Trouble is, this information's been pushed out on the public with no idea of the hazards that the cyclists and other vulnerable road users are facing when using the detour. I think it's just everyone from the Minister, the Department of Transport, Main Roads, everyone working on the project is just completely oblivious to the hazards on this detour because I guess, well, has anyone from Main Roads, the project, Department of Transport actually cycled the detour routes on a regular basis and checked for things like intersection hazards as a cyclist? Has anyone bothered to check that the existing intersection designs are suitable for large volumes of cycling cross traffic? What I mean by that is these intersections have been there for ages, and look, they've been absolutely fine because there hasn't been a lot of cyclist traffic using them or going across them, because there's been absolutely no need for lots of people to cycle along these routes. The detour has shoved a lot of cyclists onto these routes, and so therefore the design really needs to be looked at again to say, is this in fact suitable when we've increased the number of cyclists by maybe 100-fold? Now, the Austroads have released this useful little tool, the cycling level of service tool, and it talks about whether risks are critical and things like that. And what we're actually looking today is whether there's measures in place to slow down turning vehicles, which is a critical risk according to this tool at intersections. Now, these intersection hazards only become apparent if you cycle through them multiple times. You're never going to notice these hazards if you're sitting at your desk looking at this intersection on Google Maps. You're not really going to see it if you just drive through once. You're certainly not going to see it if you walk through because you're traveling a lot slower than a cyclist. You need to cycle through them, and obviously you need to cycle through them quite a lot in order to test them under different traffic conditions and actually go through this particular intersection when there's drivers coming out of the North Fremantle suburb. So where is Pensioner Guard Road and Tyburn Road? Well, there it is on the map. Now there's this neat little encapsulated suburb, I guess you'd call it, bounded by Stirling Highway on one side and Tyburn Road to the north and Queen Victoria Street on the left, and obviously the river on the south. And there's only two exits out of it. To the north, you've got Pensioner Guard Road, and to the west, you've got Swan Street. So at the moment, if someone in this area wants to travel south, they've obviously got two ways of doing it. But the thing is, what's going to happen at the end of this year when the bridge is closed for demolition? Now, one option for people coming out of this area is going to be to come out Swan Street and turn right and go around the block. And you've got to say, well, why would you bother doing that? Why would you go through an extra set of lights? Intuitively, you'd expect most people to say, no, Swan Street's a write-off unless you're going straight north. But if you want to head south, the best way to do it is to come out of Pensioner Guard Road, and then you can avoid a set of lights and get onto Tydeman Road and go across the bridge. So what's that going to mean? An increased volume of departures out of Pensioner Guard Road, which is where we come to this cycling level of service tool, because the increase in vehicle movements out of Pensioner Guard Road increases the risk of a collision with cyclists using the detour. Now, at the moment, cyclists have got three options for going south. The path that goes around the back of the Swan Hotel has obviously been closed for months. So you can either take, if you're a strong and fearless cyclist, you can take the white line, which is to ride straight across the bridge as it is, if you don't mind mixing it up with the traffic. Similarly, strong and fearless cyclists can ride along Tydeman Road on the blue line, get to Stirling Highway, and then go over the bridge on the road with the trucks and all the rest of it. And if you don't feel up to doing that, you can get on the path and take the yellow route. Now, again, what's going to happen to cyclists at the end of this year when the white option is no longer there because the bridge has been demolished? Well, obviously, everyone's going to have to go across Stirling Highway. Now, the question is, are the people that are currently riding on the road going to stick to riding on the road? And I'm going to put out the idea that a number of those people that are currently on the road are going to transition to using the path, at least to get across the Stirling Highway Bridge. And the reasoning for that is very simple. And it's going to be, this chaos caused by putting 8,000 additional movements onto the Stirling Highway Bridge, and I guess onto Canning Highway and Tyburn Road. And that's from reading the traffic meter counting thing on the Main Roads website. There's something like, I think it's 8,000 movements a day over the Fremantle traffic bridge. Now, they've all obviously got to go somewhere. And obviously Main Roads already knows about that because they're planning for the chaos that's going to result. Now, obviously some cyclists are going to be okay with riding in traffic that's got a hell of a lot more vehicles, lots more trucks, and even sitting in stalled traffic or filtering through the traffic when it's just a complete bottleneck across the bridge in both directions. However, I'm sure quite a few are going to say, well, sod that for a joke. I don't want to ride with all these extra trucks. I don't want to be sitting behind a queue of traffic that stretches from the traffic lights at the corner of Canning Highway and the Stirling Highway all the way back across the bridge to Tyburn Road. No, I'm going to get on the path instead. So what happens in those circumstances when you've got a lot more people driving out of Pensioner Guard Road and a lot more cyclists on the footpath along Tydeman Road? Well, obviously, you greatly increase the risk of a collision at this intersection. Now, this issue is compounded by the extremely poor sight lines when cyclists are riding west to east. And it's doubtful that anyone would have picked up this risk by walking or driving around here. Now, what this just shows is that pertinent audits of things like this detour are a must. You can't do a desk audit using Google Maps. You can't just drive around the route. You can't walk around it because walking, you're not moving as quickly as a cyclist. You have to cycle it to pick up these risks. So looking at the satellite photo, what do we see? Well, there's this building on the corner, plus a bit of shrubbery on the corner, which completely blocks sight lines when you're looking to the west. And if we actually go out on the road, you can see that someone that's fairly short, like little kids, cyclists using recumbents, hand cyclists, you're never going to see them behind that shrubbery. And you're not going to see them essentially until they appear behind them. And there's like a meter of path or so between the edge of the shrubbery and when they're going to hit the road. even a cyclist that's standing up or an adult, you're only going to have, what, 2 meters? We're only going to see them 2 meters before they hit the intersection as you're heading towards this give way sign. Now, there's that's not the worst of it. The issue is, because Tiedeman Road is 2 lanes in each direction and there's a traffic aisle in the middle with a refuge in the middle, anyone that's coming out of here turning right, all they're doing is looking to their right for traffic approaching from the east. It's all they care about. They're not looking anywhere else. And in fact, if you go and stand on the corner and you watch all the drivers come out, you'll see that their heads just turn to the right, and that's all they care about, because they want to get across into that gap in the island. And then what they will do is they will then turn their heads to the left to look for traffic coming from the west. So if you've got a cyclist coming along here on the footpath from the west, not only can drivers approaching not see them until the last minute, they're not actually looking for them at all because they're not looking in that direction. So here's another still photo showing the view from a cyclist, and as you can see, you really can't see anything from this direction. And I actually checked this, and you really don't get a good view to your right until you're actually level with that give way sign pole. That's how badly restricted the sight lines are. Now, it's not such an issue when cyclists are approaching from the east because it's a lot more open. And of course, the second factor is all these drivers are spending 99% of their time looking in that direction. Now, they may look at you and not see you, but that's a separate issue. But at least they're looking in the correct direction. Now, it's even worse for drivers turning left where they've got a give way sign, because they're completely focused on looking to their right, but they also don't have to stop. So if there's no traffic coming from their right, what do you think they're going to do? They're just going to gun it and get out onto Tiedeman Road because they're not required to stop. And that really increases the risk of a collision. So let's summarize this. The left-hand turn lane is it's closest to the cyclist coming from the western side. It's got the most restricted sight lines. It's got a give way sign, so drivers only have to slow down and not stop. And obviously drivers are traveling faster and more inclined to focus on looking to the right. So we can summarize, this risk is really a combination of the increased cycle traffic on the path due to the detours. Now this risk, doesn't really exist if there's only one cyclist a day going back and forth here. But when you've got potentially 500 or 600 or more, then obviously there's a much greater risk of a collision between a vehicle and a cyclist. You've then got the increased vehicle departures out of Pensioner Guard Road due to the bridge works. Potentially all the traffic out of the suburb is going to be going out Pensioner Guard Road at the end of this year. Clearly got the poor sight lines. You've got drivers in a hurry because they obviously want to get on with their day. You've got drivers absolutely not looking to their left at all. And you've got a give way sign on the left turn, which allows drivers to roll up to this intersection quite fast and keep on rolling. And if they're not looking to the left, they're going to hit someone. So what you've essentially got is an intersection that's designed to keep vehicles moving quickly, particularly to the left. I mean, the designers have come up with not a bad design for getting drivers out of the suburb onto Tiedeman Road quickly. Problem is that completely negates the safety of anyone that's using the path, particularly people approaching from the western side. So how are we going to have a crash? Well, I guess it's the old Swiss cheese model, isn't it? If all these things line up, the poor sight lines, the drivers not looking to their right, drivers, hammering it through the give way sign, all that kind of stuff, eventually you're going to have a collision, particularly when you've got, the increase in the cycle traffic and the increase in the vehicle traffic. So I guess you could boil this down to three issues: poor sight lines, drivers not looking for cyclists or not looking left for cyclists, and essentially vehicles traveling too fast for the conditions. Because as you can see with those poor sight lines, if drivers are coming up to the give way sign and the stop sign slowly, then they've got time to brake if a cyclist comes out from behind the shrubbery. Assuming they're looking, in that direction. But obviously the faster they're going, the greater the risk there is they're going to hit someone and the more damage they're going to do because they're hitting them harder. Now, if you don't believe me that this is a problem, I've got a really simple solution. Go and stand on the corner and, but 7:30 to 8 in the morning is a good time, and just watch all the vehicles coming out of Pensioner Guard Road and just look at where the drivers are looking. Now, I've done this a few times, and what I've noticed is there's a very small percentage of drivers that actually look properly to their left. I mean properly, not just a glance. There are some that just glance to the left, but I don't think they're looking left for long enough to actually see a cyclist approaching. And there's a heck of a lot of drivers that just don't even look to their left at all. They're just, they're just focused on the cars coming from their right, and that's all they care about. Now, as I said, once again, it's doubtful any of this would have been detected by walking or driving around the detour route. You've got to do pertinent audits to pick these kind of things up. Now, I just want to emphasize that the reason I'm putting out these videos, not here to propose solutions, don't have to. There's Austroads guides for this. What I am trying to do is ensure that every issue is logged with Main Roads and I get a reference number. So all of these get logged via the Main Roads website. I get an email back with a reference number. Now, hopefully that means that each of these issues is being passed on to people involved with the project, and they are formally logging them on the project risk register. Because if they go onto the risk register, then they have to be addressed. Now, that could be addressed by, oh, we're just not going to do anything about it. Well, okay, that needs to be documented to say why they're doing nothing about it, and someone needs to sign off on that. Or they, might actually start to take some action on that. But we want to get rid of the situation where people say, oh, we didn't know. Oh, yeah, there was a collision. Oh, yeah, kid got run over. Oh, it's very tragic. Nobody told us there was an issue. We didn't realize there was an issue, or we still don't think there's an issue. No, you won't be able to say that because there's a video, it's public, there's a reference number, and if action wasn't taken based on that, then, that's going to be somebody's problem. But like I said, Austroads have put out these really good guides to road design. Part 4 looks at intersections and crossings. There's this great big section in it on how to do safe crossings for cyclists. Really, that's why I said I don't have to propose solutions because Austroads already has a heck of them documented. Someone just needs to take action by pulling out the guide, having a read through it, and deciding what's going to be the best solution that's going to solve these issues. Let's go and have a quick look at video of the intersection. Alright, I'm going to see if we can illustrate the issues here of sight lines. Coming up to the corner, I can't see. Right, at that point, I could see a reasonable distance down Pensioner Guard Road. So let's just do that again. Well, in fact, let's do this from the perspective of a driver and see at what point they can see a cyclist coming around the corner. In fact, I've got a driver coming up behind me. Are they going to come out? I'll let them go. So at this point, as I'm approaching from here, oh look, cyclist just popped out. Now, if I was going at a reasonable clip, it's unlikely I would have seen them. So let's try that one more time. This time what I'm going to do is see if I can get some idea when I'm on the footpath of how close I am to the lip here before I'd actually see a car coming around the corner, and vice versa. When would they see me? So that shrubbery's grown up quite a bit. If I was a lot shorter, if I was a kid, I wouldn't be able to see around. So I reckon about here, yeah, there you go. It's about where this give way sign is, to my left. It's about this point that the sight lines open up enough. And of course you've got to wonder how fast are drivers coming out of here. Okay, here comes the driver now, maybe. Let's just keep an eye on them. And I'm going to talk through where they are looking,
because I can see their head from here. So they're looking at me, glanced ahead, looking at me, looking at me, looking at me. So they gave a glance to the front, but I didn't actually see the back of their head. So they really didn't turn at all and look to their left. And as you can see, that was a give way sign. So they don't have to stop, they can just keep on rolling, and they could roll straight into someone coming from that direction. Now really what you need to do is probably just stand there on that corner, or probably both sides of that corner, for half an hour and just observe traffic in the morning when there's lots of movements, and probably have a pad and pen and just note how many people look to their left properly, how many glance to their left and don't really see anything, and how many just don't look to their left at all. And that would give you an idea of the scale of the risk. All right, that's it.